After using the RX 9070 XT for 10 months, I learned a hard truth. Great performance does not always mean great experience. When I bought ASUS Prime RX 9070 XT, I expected excellent performance. But I did not expect noise, coil whine, and high power consumption. Even at one point, I seriously considered returning it. But after a few important adjustments, my experience with this graphics card completely changed. In this video, I will show you what worked, what did not, and what you should know before buying or using the RX 9070 XT. But before we begin, I would like to thank the sponsor of today's video. Remotely is a remote desktop application that lets you access your PC from anywhere using your phone, tablet, or another computer. I tested it on my gaming PC and OnePlus 11, and I was able to connect remotely, launch applications, and even play Cuphead directly from my phone using custom touch controls. During my testing, the connection felt responsive and the latency was low enough for remote desktop use and even for some casual gaming. One feature I like is that Remotely offers a free version with no time limits, making it easy to try before deciding if it fits your needs. If you would like to test it yourself, you can download Remotely for free using the link in the description below. AMD already includes GPU tuning controls inside the official AMD software, which called Adrenaline Edition application. You do not need a separate third-party program for the basic settings. I created a manual profile with undervolting and negative power limit. The most important change was setting the power limit to -30%. I also adjust the voltage and fan settings. I'm showing my full profile on the screen, so if you wanted to, you can use it. These settings worked well on my GPU card, but remember that every GPU chip can be slightly different. A stable voltage for my graphics card may not be stable for yours. I also do not recommend copying very aggressive undervolting settings from random people on the internet. Saving another 10 or 20 watts is not useful if the game crashes after 1 hour or if the driver suddenly restarts. My goal was not to get the lowest possible power consumption, my goal was to make the card cooler, quieter, and more efficient while keeping it completely stable. With this profile, I did not experience game crashes, strange freezes, or serious performance problems. Depending on the game, I normally lose only around 3 to 5 frames per second. But the power consumption can fall from more than 300 watts to around 220 watts. The temperature is lower, the fans are quieter, and in my case, the coil whine was almost completely removed or became very difficult to hear. That is much better trade for me than getting 5 more frames per second. I also disabled the 0 RPM function. 0 RPM stops the graphics card fans when the GPU is under a light load. This can make the computer completely silent, but my graphics card could reach close to 50 degrees during light desktop work with the fan stopped. With the fan slowly running, the temperature is normally around 35 degrees. Honestly, at this speed, I cannot really hear them. Keeping the fans active may create a little more wear on the fan motors over many years. That is possible. But personally, I prefer lower and more stable GPU temperatures. Even while I was writing the script, my computer was almost silent. I could not hear any strange noise from the graphics card. After my first disappointing experience, undervolting completely changed my opinion about this model. I also tested the RX 9070 XT in PassMark. Surprisingly, my card scored around 30,600 points. My minus 30% power limit and undervolting profile were active during this test. A more typical average result for this model may be closer to 27,000 points, depending on the system, driver, cooling, settings, and the PassMark version. So the result looks very strong. I ran this test mainly because I was curious. I would not choose a graphics card only because of one synthetic benchmark. Synthetic tests are useful for checking whether a GPU performs normally. They can also help identify a serious problem with cooling, power, drivers, or PCI Express configuration, but they do not always show how the card will behave in the games and programs you actually use. As we already saw, optimization can completely change the result. A graphics card can look excellent in one benchmark and still have problems in poorly optimized game. Real gaming test, frame time, temperatures, noise, power consumptions, and application compatibility are more important to me than one large score. Gaming is not the only reason I bought this card. I regularly edit videos for my YouTube channel in Adobe Premiere Pro. Many of my projects use 4K footage. Sometimes I have multiple videos layers, colors correction, text, transitions, graphics, and GPU accelerated effects. The RX 9070 XT is capable graphics card for this work. Its 16GB of VRAM give me a lot of space for 4K footage and heavier projects. It also supports hardware encoding and decoding for common formats such as H.264, HEC, and AV1. In normal projects, timeline performance is comfortable. Preview playback is usually smooth and exporting works well. Sometimes a very heavy project with many effects can take longer to respond, but this does not happen often in my normal workflow. It is also important to remember that Premiere Pro does not depend only on the GPU. The processor, storage speed, system memory, video codec, effects, and project structure can all affect performance. Installing a faster graphics card will not make every operation faster. For example, some effects use the GPU heavily, while other tasks depend more on the processor. Long video formats can also be harder to edit than editing-friendly codecs. Still, based on my daily experience, the idea that AMD graphics card is completely unusable for Premiere Pro is not correct. An NVIDIA card may be faster in some effects, codecs, plugins, and professional workflow, but the RX 9070 XT can still provide a very comfortable 4K editing experience. For my own YouTube projects, it has been more than good enough. The RX 9070 XT is also useful for recording gameplay. AMD Adrenalin software includes a built-in recording function, so I can capture gameplay without installing another application. I normally record in 4K at 60 frames per second. Even though my television works at 120 Hz, YouTube normally displays standard uploaded gameplay at maximum of 60 frames per second. Recording at 60 frames also creates smaller files and makes editing easier. The card supports H.264, HEC, and AV1 hardware encoding. AV1 can provide good image quality at lower bitrate, although software support and editing compatibility should always be checked before using it for an important project. For the easiest editing workflow, H.264 or HEC may still be more practical in some cases. The final choice depends on your editing program, hardware, and upload workflow. I tested different photo and video upscaling tools. Some programs work very well on AMD hardware. The RX 9070 XT can also provide good performance in standard Topaz Video AI models depending on the version and selected models. Its 16GB of VRAM are useful for high-resolution video processing. However, newer or more experimental AI models may be optimized mainly for NVIDIA. Some applications may work more slowly on AMD, others may have limited support, missing functions, or no AMD support at all. An RTX 5070 Ti, for example, is usually the safest choice if maximum AI compatibility is your main priority. That does not mean that the RX 9070 XT is useless for AI. No, it means that you need to check the exact programs and models you plan to use before buying. Do not only compare theoretical computing performance. Check whether the software supports DirectML, Vulkan, ROCm, OpenGL, or another technology that works with AMD. For gaming and standard video editing, I'm very satisfied with this card. But because I tested many different programs for my channel, CUDA support would sometimes be useful. I hope more applications will be optimized for RDNA4 architecture in the future. The hardware has enough performance, now the software needs to use it properly. A lot of people are afraid to buy AMD graphics card because they expect constant driver problems. My experience was much better than this. During almost 10 months, I did not have regular game crashes or serious system problems related to graphics driver. Games normally launched and worked correctly. Video editing also worked well, so the idea that every AMD driver is unstable is not true in my case. However, I did notice two smaller problems. The first problem sometimes appear when I work with text. When I move the mouse cursor over some text fields or documents areas, the cursor can become partly transparent and difficult to see. I noticed this while editing and publishing articles on my website. It's not a system-breaking problem, but it's annoying. The second problem is related with two display configuration. My Full HD monitor and 4K television are both connected to the RX 9070 XT. Sometimes after changing displays, restarting computer or using different screen configuration, my manual tuning settings return to their default values. I have not completely found the exact reason. The good news is that AMD Adrenalin allows me to save the tuning profile. When the settings reset, I can load the saved file again in approximately 10 seconds. This is still something I would like AMD to improve. People using only one monitor may never experience this issue. Just for the record, I should say that NVIDIA drivers were not perfect for me. When I used my RTX 3060, I had a strange browser problem. Sometimes web pages froze for a few seconds when I tried to move to another page. I did not experience the same problem issue with the RX 9070 XT. This is why I don't like simple statements such as AMD drivers are bad or NVIDIA drivers never have problems. Both companies can have bugs. In my humble opinion, the more useful question is whether a specific problem affects your programs, games, and hardware configurations. In my case, the AMD driver experience has been mostly stable, with a few small but annoying issues. My graphics card came with Samsung memory chip. Some RX 9070 XT cards can use Samsung memory while others use Hynix memory. Even two cards of the same model from the same store may use different memory chips. In most cases, buyers cannot choose which version they receive. Some users believe Hynix memory can provide slightly better overclocking result. The real gaming difference is normally very small and may be around the level of measurement error. There are also reports that Samsung memory can run cooler in some cards' design. However, memory temperature depends on much more than the memory manufacturer. The cooler, thermal pads, case airflow, fan speeds, power settings, room temperatures, and memory overclock can all change the result. So I would not pay a large amount of extra money only because a seller says that card has Samsung or Hynix memory. For normal gaming, both versions should provide almost the same experience. I'm happy that my Samsung memory stays cool, but at the end of the day, buying a specific memory version is often a lottery. Now let's talk about size and builds. The ASUS Prime RX 9070 XT is also relatively compact compared with some larger high-end graphics card. It fit inside my case without any problem. I currently do not use an additional GPU support bracket. In my system, the card does not seem to bend noticeably. However, this can depend on the case, motherboard slot, and how the card is installed. My ASUS Prime version is one of the most affordable RX 9070 XT models. Indeed, it is very cheap, but that doesn't mean that it provides much lower gaming performance. More expensive versions may have larger coolers, lower noise, stronger power delivery, dual BIOS, better materials, more RGB lighting, or higher factory overclock. But the GPU chip is still an RX 9070 XT. The performance difference between normal models is usually much smaller than the price difference. Cooling and noise are more important reason to choose a premium model than a small factory overclock. And as my undervolting result shows, even the more affordable ASUS Prime card can be cool and quiet with the correct settings. Let's talk about Linux support. I did not personally test this RX 9070 XT as my main Linux graphics card, so I cannot give you a complete first-hand review. In general, AMD graphics cards are often a convenient option for modern Linux distribution because the open source AMD graphics driver are integrated into the Linux ecosystem. However, support for a new GPU architecture can depend on the Linux kernel, Mesa version, firmware package, display server, and distribution you use. If you plan to install Linux, I recommend using a recent distribution with an update kernel and Mesa package. Do not assume that an old Linux image will provide perfect support for a new graphics card. Power consumption is one of the most interesting part of my experience. At default or maximum performance settings, the RX 9070 XT can use a lot of energy. Depending on the game and profile, I saw power consumption much more closer to 300 watts or even at the peak 350 watts during the maximum overclock test. With my undervolting profile and minus 30% power limit, many demanding games stay close to 220 watts. That is a huge reduction, and the performance loss is usually only around 3 to 5 frames per second. This means that the RX 9070 XT can provide almost all of its useful gaming performance while consuming power closer to the regular RX 9070. But it still keeps the additional computer units and stronger GPU configuration of the XT model. That is why I do not completely agree with the idea that buying the regular RX 9070 and overclocking it is always the smartest choice. You can overclock the regular RX 9070, but you can also overclock the RX 9070 XT. Both cards have their own maximum performance level. More importantly, I can undervolt the XT model for normal use and still have the option to restore its full power later. Right now, I simply do not need the maximum overclock. The extra noise, heat, and energy consumption are not worth 5 additional frames per second. But perhaps in several years, when games become more demanding, having this extra performance option will be useful. The RX 9070 XT makes the most sense for someone who mainly wants strong 1440p or 4K gaming performance. It is especially attractive if you play normal rasterized games, use FSR4, and do not need maximum ray tracing in every title. It is also a good option if you want 16GB of VRAM for high-resolution textures, video editing, or other GPU-heavy tasks. It can be a good choice for a mixed gaming and content-creating computer. However, if your main work depends on CUDA, specific AI tools, NVIDIA-only plugins, or professional software certified mainly for NVIDIA, you should carefully check compatibility first. The RTX 5070 Ti or another NVIDIA model may be safer for that type of work. And if ray tracing is your main priority, you should compare performance in the exact game you want to play. Do not make the decision using only one general performance chart. After almost 10 months, I'm happy with the RX 9070 XT. It's not perfect. Ray tracing, AI programs, and driver stability still have room for improvement, but for 4K gaming, video editing, screen recording, and everyday use, it gives me performance that I actually need. And after undervolting, the card became much cooler, quieter, and more efficient. Originally, I considered returning it, but now I plan to use it next several years. Let me know in the comments below what graphics card you're using and whether you prefer maximum performance or better temperature and efficiency. If this video was helpful, please like it. If you want to support the channel even more, you can use my affiliate links in the description below. Also, check out Remotely. And I recommend watching this video about my real 4K gaming experience with the RX 97 XT.